Okay, so I'm doing this video because I'm really excited. I've had an idea. I don't know what it's going to do. I don't know how it's going to go, but the idea is that I want to create a community for women over 40 who are feeling lost. And the reason I want to do this is that that's what I was. So leading up to bear with me because this might be a bit of a long video and I don't even know whether I'll use it anywhere yet or whether it's just me brain dumping out of my brain. So basically I'm 54 now, so I'm well over 40, and I can honestly say my life definitely did begin at 40. So over 13 years ago now, actually 14 in December, so yeah, 54, life began at 40. I was working for a corporate law firm in Sheffield. I was doing a bit of teaching, part-time teaching fitness, and but I'd worked all my life from leaving school, always been taught you go out, you get a job. You know, I got good grades at school, I got good qualifications, was always told go out and get a job, you know, build a career, all that type of thing, and that's what I did. So I worked for the court service initially. Now I worked for a firm initially when I lost school at a YTS, those of you that are old enough to remember YTS schemes. Worked as a receptionist, and then I went to work for the court service. So I worked for the Crown Court, the County Court, did various roles there, really enjoyed it, but I was capped in where I could go in that job. I didn't have any real career progression, and as I say, I'd always been taught, you know, go for the top, go for a career. By the way, my mum and dad brought me up amazingly. This isn't a criticism of them, but they were working people and that's what they knew. Okay, they were particularly entrepreneurial, although my dad could have been. Was always taught, you know, go for it, but there wasn't really a career person. I was marked for promotion in my assessments for something like 7 years on the trot, but because working for the Lord Chancellor's department, you know, it's a good pension, it's all this kind of thing, it's a secure job, nobody ever left, so no promotion potentials came up. So then eventually I got to the point where I was like, I can't keep doing this, I really need to move on. And a job came up at a local solicitor's, quite a large firm of solicitors. A few of the other guys who I worked with had gone there, they were on a big recruitment drive, and I went. And again, I worked my way up, I got myself to quite a well-paid position, good position in that, but I was really miserable. So I was a working mum. I'd got my oldest son is 30. My youngest son is 21 on Sunday. If you're reading this back, if you're watching this back, he's probably already 21. But you know, I became that mum that was never there for them. And I'll be honest with you guys. I'm going to be brutally honest with you there. I wasn't that person that always wanted kids, that was like, I've got to be a mum. That wasn't me at all. But you know, I love my husband very much. I knew I was going to spend the rest of my life with him, and you know, when our children came along, that really completed our family. But you know, neither of them were planned as such, they just happened. Very happy happenings, of course. We love them both to bits. But you know, and when I had my first son, I was working in a really male-dominated environment in the law firm, and you know what struck me was that I had to fight for every little bit of time off. If I was going to, you know, I had to go to a school sports day, or my son was ill, I was having to ring the childminder to pick him up. I couldn't be there for him, you know, because my boss just didn't get it. If I had appointments with the school, or you know, dentist appointments or doctor's appointments for the kids or things like that, I had to literally work through my lunch or work late to make that time up. I just wasn't, I don't know, I just had to fight for everything, and this my boss just didn't get it. He was single, didn't have kids, just didn't get it. So it was a real male-dominated environment where there was no sympathy for me as a working mum. You know, Andy, my husband, is awesome. He's not the type of bloke that expects me to do the house, the cleaning, the cooking, look after the kids. Definitely isn't. We were definitely a partnership and still are. But it's still hard as a mum. You want to be there for your kids, and when you're juggling that, it's really, really hard. And I felt like all I ever said to my kids was, not now, mum's working. Because if I wasn't at work, I was thinking about work, or I'd brought work home. And it just got to the point where I was really miserable. I was overweight because I wasn't looking after myself. I was working through my lunch and just grabbing whatever to eat. I was living on coffee. I was, you know, getting up later and later in the morning because I really didn't want to go to work, and then I was just grabbing a bacon sandwich on the way to work. I don't know if any of this resonates with you. And it got to the point where we had Gabriel, who is my youngest, and I had him at 34. And so I was an older mum as well, and the cycle repeated itself, not being there at school for him. You know, I actually remember picking him up one day from school and all the other mums looking at me like, who's she? because I'd never picked him up, and it really hurt. And then Gabriel had some challenges. Gabriel is on the autistic spectrum. He's fine, he's amazing, but when he was young I had a lot of appointments, and again this cycle was repeating where I felt like I couldn't be there for my son because I was having to beg my boss for time off. Even though I was willing to make the time up, even though I was putting in extra hours and taking work home, he was really like insensitive to that. And it just got to the point where I made myself really ill. I ended up off work with stress, anxiety, you know, really in a really bad place, not looking after my health, ballooned in weight, and was just really unhappy, and couldn't see a way out. And, you know, I'm telling you this because this was me heading towards my 40th birthday. And I think my 40th birthday was the catalyst where I went, something has got to change. And, you know, that's when everything changed for me. That's when I was approached by a friend of mine to look at a business opportunity. I'll tell you a bit more about that later on. This isn't a business pitch. This is just to say, if you are feeling like I am, I want to create this community for us. And, you know, he came to me with a business opportunity. I was scared shitless, I'll be honest with you. I'd always worked. I've never worked for myself, never been entrepreneurial, never had any inclination that I could be my own boss or be entrepreneurial. But I needed something. And, you know, sometimes things find you when you're, you know, in desperation or inspiration. And I was in desperation. I wanted something different. So I took a leap of faith, and I'm going to tell you about that later in more videos, but I'm going to stop this video now before I ramble on far too long. But I'm excited about this, and I hope that this is something that I may be able to, you know, help and inspire other people to realise that life does begin at 40. So if you are heading to your 40th birthday, if you've passed your 40th birthday and you're nearer my age at 54, but you are still in that I've lost myself and you're looking to find yourself, come and join us. Let me help you. Keep your eyes peeled. There'll be more information coming.